Hey everyone, welcome to the ATX VGC Monday Night Friendlies. My name is Gemma, I also go by Gems VGC, and I'm joined tonight with my co-host Chase.
Hello, I go by Tiki.
Yeah, and tonight, oh hey Santacos, thanks for the follow. Tonight we'll be featuring our best of three in our continued series of the Monday Night Friendlies. Our first matchup is actually going to be Justin Snores versus Will, and that's going to be on Showdown because we're short a capture card. And then the second battle will be myself versus Santacos, who just followed. Followed up with our final match with Tiki versus Amy. So yeah, thanks so much for coming out. These Monday Night Friendlies have been a really fun extension of our local Austin, Texas VGC scene, and we're really excited that we've been able to kind of continue them despite being in a position where we're social distancing during quarantine. So, hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back. Thanks for the really fun game there, Adam. GG's Santacos. Thanks to all of our new followers as well. We hope y'all are enjoying our ATX Friendlies Monday night streams. Typically we have a couple more people. We're a little short from our usual streamers this week, but yeah, we actually started this Monday Night Friendlies as an extension of our in-person events here in Austin, Texas. We were like a group of 5 or 6 of us were kind of battling every week online through Zoom and like chatting throughout it. And we're like, what if we started streaming this and got an opportunity to bring more people in? So that's really how this ATX VGC Friendlies got set up. So here we're going to see Chase against Woke Flossie. The one note I'll give about that Heliolisk, it was actually a different set than I thought I was bringing. I thought I was going a more supportive Heliolisk, and I realized I loaded up my max attack very fast Heliolisk that I built back in like Series 2 to counter Charizard immediately after Dallas. It's one of those things where not a lot of people know exactly its base speed, and it is incredibly fast, and it can just like run through teams with the coverage of like Grass, Darkness, Electric, and not sure if y'all saw, but I also had Focus Blast on it for Tyrannitars. But yeah, that was a really fun game. So here we see Chase. We're gonna have Chase against Amy. Amy is this is her 4th week here on the stream, and this week it looks like she's bringing a team based around Conkeldurr, Dragapult, presumably a Gigantamax Lapras, Alolan Ninetales, Frostmoth, which is one we have not seen yet, as well as Mimikyu. Hey, thanks for that, Santacos. It was a really fun set, and actually great point. The 50 game test tool is something that was developed. The idea was developed by Chase. I did some of the fancy Excel work on it, but if y'all want to check that out, it's a tool for testing out teams. So we see Tiki's team also here. We see some interesting, and that link is in the chat if you want to check out that team builder tool. So here we see Chase with a really interesting Alolan Persian, Amoonguss, Braviary, Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Meowstic. So Alolan Persian is a Pokemon that's really interesting. It's very fast. It's probably one of the fastest taunt users that's non-prankster. As well as having access to an ability called Fur Coat, which doubles its defenses. So it makes it more kind of bulky and tanky. Here we see a double ice lead with Woke Flossie and the shiny on that Frostmoth, which is incredibly cool. So we're going to see the Alolan Ninetales will set up the snow warning. So it is a very fast fairy type user, but both of these Pokemon will not be outsped by, or will be outsped by Meowstic, who has Prankster and has the ability to use any status move before the speed priority turns start. So we see Chase actually withdraw that Meowstic in favor of Incineroar and getting presumably a fire type here on the field. That Intimidate's not going to do much into 2 special attackers. But the threat of a fire type against that Frostmoth is presumably really scary. As a bug and ice type, that thing kind of, you just have to light a match near it, and I'm not sure how it survives. So we actually see the Dynamax come out here from the Braviary, getting to be a real big burb. So this Braviary here is going to go ahead and go for, we'll see, but I presume it's going to be a max Airstream. The Blizzard does hit super effective onto that Braviary, taking it down just about 40%. Unfortunately, Frostmoth's not going to get a chance to attack into that Braviary slot, as well as the max Airstream's enough to just kind of wipe it from the field. So from here, you know, Braviary presumably outspeeds this Alolan Ninetales at this point, so being able to go for another Blizzard into, you know, Hail Chip is not going to be enough to take out this Braviary, so Amy's going to have to think of something else that she might be able to do in this position to maneuver around that Braviary, which really is a pretty big threat. So here we see Amy respond with the Dragapult. Dragapult is definitely one of the most common Pokemon in the format, being having super awesome and super powerful stab moves of both Ghost and Dragon. You don't want to use either of those into a Braviary though, unfortunately, because both of those will lower a stat and will proc Braviary's Defiant ability. So if this Dragapult is what's Dynamaxing, I think all we're going to be seeing from it is a max Airstream for Amy to try and reestablish some of the speed priority here. So we see that Dragapult go ahead and max, get real big, and I think we're about to see a max Airstream come out of it. Ninetales protects, which is a smart move because I'm not sure it would have lived a max Airstream from the Braviary. But through this protect, I think that might just be enough. Yeah, more than just enough. That only takes about 30% of a chunk off. So what I think Amy's going for here is the ability to potentially reboost her speed in such a way where she could get a Blizzard off before the Braviary is able to move, but still I don't think she's going to be able to do that next turn since the Braviary matched Dragapult's Airstream with its own Airstream. Presumably here at +2, the Braviary should be outspeeding most Dragapults, so even if Amy goes for an Airstream, that Braviary will likely be moving first. Chase in this positioning is pretty clear to just continue to click Airstream with his Braviary, and he can switch something in. He can go for a Flare Blitz into the Ninetales slot, but it looks like he does opt to go ahead and switch out and bring Meowstic back in and reestablish that Prankster Pokemon. That shiny Meowstic, which is very nice. We see 2 fun shiny Pokemon featured, so the Ninetales is not living that max Airstream from the Braviary, which unfortunately does go first for Amy. So at this point, Chase is in a pretty commanding position. He's taken out two Pokemon, but Amy still does have her Dynamax, and she has the ability to potentially outpace Chase with one more max Airstream, but without the ability to really boost her own attack or reduce her opponent's defenses, it's going to be a little harder for that Dragapult to operate undynamaxed. So here, I think it'll be interesting to see. I missed the moveset on this Meowstic. Also, that Conkeldurr, the formerly buff, was probably one of my favorite marks I've seen in this meta so far. It's one of the really nice things that the Isle of Armor gave us, is the ability to bring old Pokemon back up and give them the battle ready mark, so that they're able to be used even if they're from past generations. That's how you get to see some of these really cool mark descriptions, like Conkeldurr, the once buff. I think that one is from one of the Emerald Battle Towers, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So here we see Chase actually opts to switch out that Braviary with all of the boosts, switch into an Amoonguss, as the Meowstic goes for Yawn. So at this point, there's not a whole lot that Dragapult can do to not fall asleep at the end of next turn, which is unfortunate for Amy. Chase kind of being able to put that pressure on, and he'll be able to do it again next turn to that Conkeldurr, as long as it's not, say, a Flame Orb Conkeldurr that will, proc its own proc its own Flame Orb here to give itself the Guts boost, but it looks like Amy is either using an Assault Vest set, because I don't think I saw the Life Orb damage. No, we didn't see Life Orb, so it's not Life Orb Iron Fist, but it's probably Assault Vest. And Chase here is pretty free to click buttons with the Moongus. Dragapult threatens it, but the problem with Dragapult threatening it is that it's going to be taking a nap at the end of this turn. Unless this Dragapult is actually Lumberry, which would be an interesting tech. We see the Fire Punch come out from that Conkeldurr. It is super effective, but the Reflect really putting in a whole lot of work, reducing that physical damage from Conkeldurr down. So now, looks like both Pokemon are asleep. Do we see the Lumberry on Dragapult? Nope. Dragapult does not wake back up. So in this case, Chase is going to be able to operate. Both of these Pokemon have not taken their one mandatory turn of sleep, so whatever he chooses to do here, he's pretty free, because he knows that neither of these two Pokemon can attack him. So he can maneuver, he can get his board positioning however he wants it. If he wants to cycle and Intimidate onto the Conkeldurr, that's an option. If he wants to just go for damage with that Amoonguss, that's also an option. He could reestablish Braviary, potentially setting a Tailwind next turn if he's lucky and gets a secondary turn of sleep from the Dragapult. But it looks like he's going to opt to go ahead and get that Intimidate coming down from Incineroar, luring one stage into the Conkeldurr, but the Dragapult, because of its clear body ability, is going to go ahead and keep its attack stat right where it's at. So, the Sludge Bomb here, let's see how much it does into Dragapult. Not a whole lot. That's not really what you want to be doing in terms of total damage, but Chase is pretty free in terms of his positioning to leave that Amoonguss exactly where it is, or he could switch it out in order to get some HP back from the Amoonguss's Regenerator ability. So, yeah, we do see that switch out. Meowstic comes back in. That Meowstic's currently at really small sliver of HP. Chase was, EV'd it in such a way where it lived previously. It looks like the Conkeldurr's gonna wake up. It's gonna go for the Drain Punch into the Incineroar, get some health back. But because of that Intimidate, it's not enough to KO the Incineroar. So now the Incineroar is gonna be able to go for a Parting Shot, lowering the attack stat of the attack stage of that Conkeldurr by a whole nother stage. So it's now at -2, so it's about half as effective. This Amoonguss is now free to come back in with a little bit more health. It can now it can definitely live a Fire Punch to -2 Conkeldurr, and presumably just go ahead and click Spore again onto either of those Pokemon if Chase is afraid that one of them might wake up and attack. But yeah, Amy's positioning here, she's got to hope for a Wake Up on Dragapult and maybe something like a Fly or a Phantom Force, where she's able to go ahead and get off the field before she is spored. So we'll see what happens. Looks like Conkeldurr goes for the Mach Punch. It's not very effective. It does go ahead and pick up the KO on Meowstic. And Amoonguss is going to go for the Spore. Dragapult was already asleep. Looks like Chase was trying to cover for the potential of that Dragapult waking up. But in this case, Chase is pretty free to bring this Braviary back in. And this Braviary now is in a position where it's threatening super effective damage onto Conkeldurr. It's not threatening any super effective damage into Dragapult, so that is the one saving grace there for Amy. Let's see what these players went for. Braviary just goes for Protect turn 1, just in case that Dragapult wakes up and is able to go for Dragon Darts. And it is, speaking it into existence here. So both of those Dragon Darts are now going to be redirected into Amoonguss, who's not really taking a whole lot of damage from it. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a freeze on the video feed, so give me one sec while I see if I can't get that back and running. We have a freeze. Let me message Tiki real quick just to let him know what's going on. What happens in between here is I'm going to try and reestablish connection and see if we can't get the rest of the matchup. We might miss the end of this game because I know he is muted and he's not hearing any of this right now. Oh, looks like we go ahead and get the wake up of the stream. And not sure what we missed in the turns before, but the Braviary is able to go for a Brave Bird and knock out that Conkeldurr. Braviary does take a good chunk of recoil, but that Dragapult is asleep. I'm not sure what turn of sleep. Presumably that was the first turn, since there wasn't something like a Rage Powder that came out. But now Chase is pretty free just to continually click, you know, Brave Bird Spore, kind of periodically between the two. Dragapult does wake up. It goes for the Dragon Darts. It's going to be enough probably to KO that Braviary at only 16 HP, so unfortunately for Amy, this Dragapult is going to be going to sleep again with the Spore. This Amoonguss is just oppressive to Amy's team. The Braviary, or the Amoonguss is just kind of super free to continually go for damage. The one thing that Amy can do is, if she's able to live, get a one-turn wake up and KO this Incineroar, that Amoonguss is not going to be doing enough damage. It will be continually putting Amy's Dragapult to sleep, but it's not going to do enough damage to this Dragapult to where Tiki could stall this out. So Dragapult takes its first mandatory turn of sleep. Oh, and it looks like Incineroar is carrying Darkest Lariat, so that's going to be enough to pick up the KO into the Dragapult. Unfortunate for Amy, but some good information gained from this battle. I think knowing that Incineroar is carrying a Dark, super effective attack is super important information going forward. So, given this, I'm kind of curious what Amy might be able to do in terms of the game 2. I need to, let's see, as they pull their teams back up. We see Chase relock in his Alolan Persian, which we have not yet seen on the stream, but hopefully, maybe we'll see it in this. It looks like it's not quite as good of a matchup as he would like in order for him to bring it, especially just given kind of what Braviary does. Yeah, so here it might be, Amy might be in a good position if she goes for a, potentially a Lapras play. I think kind of best positioning might be a Trick Room mode where she goes Lapras, Mimikyu. Presumably that Mimikyu either has Taunt or Trick Room. There has to be some way of dealing with Trick Room on this team. And then have Conkeldurr operating under Trick Room and seeing if, you know, maybe we saw Fire Punch last game, we saw Drain Punch and Mach Punch. If the fourth move is Ice Punch, which you might expect on a very Hail and Ice dependent team, you could KO that Braviary under Trick Room. So we see Chase is kind of contemplating his moves there, not sure exactly what he locked into. But we will take a quick peek at what the leads are here in just a second with both these trainers with really cool trainer cards. I love the facial expressions on both. So let's see. What are those leads going to be? From Amy, we see Mimikyu and Dragapult. Oh, so perhaps a weakness policy Dragapult with some side weakness policy procs here. Maybe a Shadow Sneak into that Dragapult, and a Max Airstream would do quite a bit of damage into Braviary. I think one of the issues that Chase's lead with the Meowstic Braviary presents to Amy is Amy knows that Chase is carrying Yawn on this Meowstic, and there's no way of Amy to redirect that Yawn away. So in this case, she could go for a self Shadow Sneak weakness policy proc, and then go for big damage with her 2 turns of Dynamax, but then she is guaranteed to lose that 3rd turn of Dynamax if Chase decides to Yawn. So we do see a Dynamax come out, and interestingly enough, it's actually Chase's Braviary that goes first. That tells us that Amy is not Dynamaxing that Dragapult this turn. Perhaps fearful of the Yawn, perhaps just wanting to get it into a better positioning. We see the Yawn come out into that Dragapult slot. I think a really interesting play here could be a Trick Room into the Phantom Force. Is that what we see? Mimikyu would already be moving last. Dragapult's able to avoid, and oh, Mimikyu gets the Will-O-Wisp onto the Braviary, cutting its attack functionally in half. Oh, it is though. She's gonna see it's a Lumberry on the Braviary, which I believe most of them are running nowadays. So being able to get that burn one turn is nice. And here we see Chase click one of the most hated moves in the entire game, Ally Switch, as Dragapult goes for the Phantom Force, unfortunately, into the Braviary, which isn't effective. We see the Airstream come in, and it's going to bust the disguise of the Mimikyu. Now that Braviary is at +1 speed, Mimikyu's disguise is broken. And we're going to go ahead and see here. The Will-O-Wisp comes out, but Meowstic avoids, and it was already redirected thanks to that Ally Switch. So now, with Dragapult about to take its first mandatory turn of sleep, Chase is in a position where he can ignore it and, you know, focus down that Mimikyu. I think here might be a good time for Amy to try and reposition that Mimikyu. I don't believe that it's going to be living a max Airstream from this Braviary. So I think that we see the Meowstic go for Reflect. I think we might be seeing a Mimikyu go down to a max Airstream this turn. Yep, max Airstream comes out into the Mimikyu slot. Oh, Mimikyu lives on 1 HP. Let's see, what did Mimikyu go for? Dragapult is taking its one mandatory turn of sleep. Mimikyu goes for the Trick Room after the Braviary gets 2 boosts. A really interesting play, especially given that. Give me 1 second here while I just go ahead. I have to take one quick peek at something. So here, what Chase looks like, Chase is going to opt to go ahead and switch out. And we'll see what Amy does now with Trick Room, with her Mimikyu actually having the ability to go first, but it opts to switch out, bring in this Lapras, which I think is a great play. But Chase kind of counters that great play with switching Amoonguss and Incineroar in. Sorry about that, just dealing with something in chat. So here we go. Now, under Trick Room, this Lapras has the ability, it's not going to be moving first given that Amoonguss, so Amy has to be very, very careful if she opts to Dynamax that Lapras, as potentially the entirety of her Dynamax could be wasted if she ends up Dynamaxing and taking that first turn Spore. So it looks like Chase is contemplating who he wants to go ahead and direct that Fake Out into. It looks like Lapras smartly protects turn 1. I'm going to go ahead, and that Spore will not be putting it to sleep just yet. Incineroar goes for the Parting Shot, but it's going to be staying put because of that Lapras's Protect. So Dragapult, we see, does manage to stay asleep again, which is unfortunate for Amy, because maybe if it had been able to go for a Fly, it could have put some pressure onto that Amoonguss, but now with Amoonguss on the field, like we saw in Game 1, it really, really, really is pretty impressive. Being able to just go for kind of continuous moves, putting things to sleep and cycling that sleep, as well as redirecting attacks. If there's anything that Chase wants to redirect any attacks away with Rage Powder, but it seems like in this case, Spore is really the optimal move every time. So we see Conkeldurr, the formerly buffed, come back out. It's going to be eating this Spore though, and unfortunately taking a little nap. We'll see what the Incineroar wants to do. It goes for the Parting Shot into that Conkeldurr. Unfortunate, now that Conkeldurr is at -1. And Chase has the ability to take it down to -2 whenever he chooses to cycle that Intimidate back in. So we see Chase selects here to bring the Braviary back in off of the Parting Shot. So now we see Braviary and Moongus against Dragapult and Conkeldurr. It looks like Dragapult's going to go ahead and get the Wake Up. It's going for Fly. I'm not sure exactly how many turns of Trick Room are left. It looks like this is the last turn of Trick Room, so that Dragapult will be avoiding all attacks for this turn. So presumably it could, at the end of this turn, take a good chunk onto that Amoonguss and then position itself to where it's in a place where it might be able to go for a max Airstream into the Amoonguss later. Looks like Chase is going to smartly switch that out, saying, I don't want to take Fly damage into my Amoonguss. We'll let Meowstic handle that. And Amy repositions with Mimikyu, presumably to try and get some pressure to either maybe... maybe where she could have gone for a side Shadow Sneak beginning of next turn, but I think any attacks are going to be directed into that slot. So we see the very cool Fly animation. It's not doing very much to that Meowstic. That Meowstic can really eat a physical attack behind the Reflect that Chase set earlier in the game. Actually, I don't know if the Reflect is active. I think that it is. So it looks like we have Lapras, the Easily Flustered, coming back out, and I think it's going to be easily flustered by this. The good news for Amy, so we do see that there are still 3 more turns of Reflect there. So Amy's in a position where she could Dynamax either of these 2 Pokemon, and the best that Chase can do in this position is go for a Yawn. If she opts to Gigantamax that Lapras and has Max Lightning, she could potentially avoid Sleep for several turns by changing the terrain. The only problem is she's not going to be able to both Max Lightning and go for a Max Resonance. So she'll have to wait a turn to set up Max Resonance if she fears a Yawn here. So we do see that it is going to be that Gigantamax Lapras, and we did a really great job of continually pivoting and repositioning to try and get to a point where this Lapras is much safer going for a Gigantamax and it's not threatened. So we see Braviary go for the Protect on this turn. And we see Meowstic go for a Light Screen to reduce the amount of damage that Lapras will be doing. Unfortunately, that's going to last for quite a few turns now that we've seen that it is Light Clay on the Meowstic. We see the Dragon Darts. Dragon Darts, the first one gets a crit, so it ignores the Reflect. And the second one gets a second crit, a double crit. That's going to be enough to take out the Meowstic. And now Amy is free to go for a Max Lightning to avoid the Sleep from Amoonguss for the rest of the game. That was an incredible play. A double crit on Dragon Darts is not something you see every day, but that was incredible, and that's going to be enough to really position Amy well for the rest of this game. We do know that Lapras now is at a point where it's having to attack through light screens, but I think this turn it's going to be pretty free to go for a Max Resonance into that Braviary slot. So try and get a set of screens of her own up, and then Amy has the ability to hopefully kind of reposition all of her Pokemon so that she can kind of reduce the amount of damage that Chase can do in the long run here. Given the fact that her Conkeldurr is currently asleep, it might be a good idea to bring it out to get it to have a wake up into the Lightning Train. As we see a Fly come out from Amy's Dragapult, so it's going to be avoiding any kind of attacks, and that big Max Resonance does a lot of damage in that Amoonguss. The Amoonguss does live thanks to that light screen though, so we'll see kind of what it wants to go for next turn. It can't go for a Spore in this Electric Train because both of Amy's Pokemon are grounded, but we are seeing the Parting Shot that's going to drop Lapras's special attack by a whole nother stage. So in this positioning, Chase now has Braviary out alongside a very low HP Amoonguss. I would assume that Chase probably wants to switch that out to continue to get the Regenerator benefit. So we'll see what Amy does here. A Max Resonance or a Max Lightning into that Braviary is going to do a pretty good chunk of damage. And if she made the prediction correct on this Incineroar switch, and if she went for a Max Geyser, that would be a pretty incredible play, and it's still going to do a chunk. She is at -1 special attack and Chase has reflect or has light screen up, so it's going to be reducing some of that damage. Dragapult goes for the fly. It is into that protecting Braviary, unfortunately. And we do see the max resonance come out into the Braviary, also just trying to get some damage down. Unfortunately, through that protect, it's not doing a ton. When you stack protect -1, and then you add light screen. So the good news for Amy is the reflect is now worn off, and Chase's Meowstic is gone down, so he has no way of resetting that reflect. So now Dragapult and Conkeldurr are both in a position where they're going to be doing a lot more damage. The only problem for Amy is she's really got to prioritize taking some knockouts here, because she has to get a knockout before before that Amoonguss comes back in, and so she can continue to target it down. So we see the Dragapult go for Dragon Darts here. It's going to do a little chunk there to the Incineroar, and it's also going to do another nice little chunk into the Braviary. We saw the Protect on the Lapras, and that's going to be a pretty unfortunate turn of events here for Amy, as the combined Brave Bird and Darkest Lariat target there into Amy's Dragapult, but Amy's Dragapult actually lives on about 10 HP. The weakness policy is now procced. It's up 2 stages of attack. So it's up 2 stages of attack. Reflect is now off of the field. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see kind of what Amy chooses to maneuver here with. A Dragon Darts would probably pick up a KO into that Braviary if it doesn't protect. And I'm not sure how much a +2 2 Dragon Darts is going to do into that Incineroar if it does, especially if Amy chooses to double down the Incineroar with her Lapras as well. So given the fact that her Lapras doesn't have any boosts, it might also be a really safe turn for her to go and switch that Conkeldurr in. And if she, it looks like she does not opt to go and do that, but the Dragon Darts here are going to do... That is going to be really close. I think Incineroar is going to... Oh, it is just going to go down. Looks like the first one might have been a low roll in terms of my calculations. But Lapras goes for the Blizzard. It does connect, but unfortunately the Protect. And also, unfortunately for Amy, the Electric Terrain is now gone. So this Amoonguss is back in a position where it can be pretty oppressive with Spore. And the only super effective move that Amy is able to do into it looks like Fly. So we actually see Chase go ahead and decide his positioning is not good here, knowing that Conkeldurr is in the back. This Dragapult's at +2, and it's going to be able to pick up a KO onto Braviary before before Dragapult would be able to. So we are actually going to see our first 3-game set of the night, as Amy, expertly positioned around, got a very, very, very timely double crit on that Meowstic. That was such a big play. Being able to kind of shut down Reflect for the rest of the game. So given the way these two players adjusted in this game too, I found that super interesting. I loved Amy kind of continually bluffing the Mimikyu Dragapult positioning, and then eventually get to a point where her Lapras is able to go for a Max Lightning to shut down Sleep for a majority of the game. Having that Max Lightning up for those turns I think was huge for her. As we see, Chase here is checking his Persian. Double checking what its moveset is, as well as potentially checking for a stat or two there. It looks like he does lock in. We're going to see different leads this time, which might be really fun. We've got, right now, Chase looks like he's locked into Persian, Amoonguss, Braviary, and Incineroar as a 4. So leaving Rillaboom in this set feels pretty smart, given Amy's 3 Ice-type Pokemon and Dragapult, which all hit super effective with some of their most powerful attacks. So it doesn't really feel like a great game for Rillaboom, but maybe it'll be a great game there for the Alolan Persian. It looks like Chase won't be threatened by too many fairy types, with the exception of Mimikyu and Alolan Ninetales, but both of those Pokemon aren't as known for clicking their fairy type move. You see a lot more ghost type moves, or in the case of the last game where Amy was able to live on that 1 HP and get the Trick Room up, which was an incredible play, pressuring Chase to continue to have to bring out the Amoonguss and cycle through. So as we see here, Amy's got about 9 seconds before she locks in. Hopefully she gets that in and we don't see the first 4. Oh, looks like she just got it in with 1 second, so we shouldn't be seeing the first 4. So this will be super exciting. So this is game 3, Woke Flossie, aka Amy, versus Chase. We'll be seeing the game again from Chase's perspective. And let's see what these leads end up being. Amy brings out Conkeldurr, the formerly buff, and Lapras, the easily flustered. Interesting positioning, especially given Braviary Persian. At this point, I give this lead advantage presumably to Amy. She has something that pressures that Alolan Persian with Conkeldurr, super effective damage into it. She's the ability to go ahead and get her max resonance up. Probably not before the Braviary does some big damage into the Lapras, but it's not going to threaten a knockout onto that Lapras. So we'll see kind of what she ends up going for. It looks like Chase locked in incredibly quickly and actually missed which spread attack he went for. I know that Alolan Persians oftentimes carry Snarl. They also carry Icy Wind. So it looks like Amy's going to opt to switch out the Conkeldurr for the Mimikyu, and she's gonna go here for the Dynamax, or the Gigantamax turn 1 from that Lapras. So super exciting. Last game was a game entirely of board positioning, of getting to just the right moment where she's gonna click that Dynamax button, and here it is on turn 1. She likes her positioning, so let's see how this works out. So Braviary goes for the Protect, as it has often done in the face of this Lapras. Especially while it's Gigantamax, and it looks like Alolan Persian, an incredible play that Snarl is going to be lowering Lapras's special attack by 1 stage, and it's going to be busting Mimikyu's Disguise. So Mimikyu does not have a safe guaranteed Trick Room next turn, which is presumably what she would be going for. So we do see the max resonance come out into the protected Braviary. It does about 40% through that Snarl. So an Undynamax, unprotected Braviary probably goes down next turn. And we now see as the Life Orb damage goes ahead and takes some of Lapras's health there. So we see Chase go ahead and go for a switch out. Interesting to see kind of what his positioning is and how he feels about this now that he knows that he busted the Disguise on that Mimikyu, which I think will be huge here in the rest of this game. Amy's not quite as free to go for the Will-O-Wisps that it did in game 1, but she is free to go ahead and click the Trick Room button here and potentially reverse those speed orders, especially given how fast Alolan Persian is. And Braviary, it might be really nice to have Trick Room up here. But Persian does have the Taunt, and Taunt into the Mimikyu. Let's see, Mimikyu actually opted against the Trick Room, recognizing the threat of Taunt, presumably, and goes for the Play Rough, but unfortunately for Amy, that is -1 on the Mimikyu, in addition to the Roselia Berry, reducing the total amount of damage taken from fairy-type attacks. So, we see the max lightning. Looks like Amy is setting herself up so that down the line she doesn't have to deal with that Amoonguss. Presumably Chase has brought that in the back given how important it's been to game 1, but we'll see what happens here in this turn. So, Gigantamax Lapras has 1 turn left of its Gigantamax versus an Incineroar and an Alolan Persian on the field. Mimikyu is at -1 from the Intimidate, and it's taunted, so it can't go for Trick Room. I think it'll be really interesting to see how Amy repositions this. It might be a good time to bring in that Conkeldurr, it might be a good time to bring in the Dragapult to set up for more of a fast positioning, and it looks like she does bring in the Dragapult. So the Snarl is actually going to go ahead and proc Dragapult's weakness policy. A great switch. Excuse me. So Dragapult now is at +2 stages of attack, and Amy's gonna get a big Max Geyser off here into this Incineroar. So being at that -2, that did go ahead and cut the effectiveness and the power of that Max Geyser, but she's now set up the rain and took that Incineroar down by about half. So the parting shot goes in, and now that Lapras is at -3. So there's not a lot of reasons for Amy to leave her Lapras in. There aren't any boosts on it. Electric Terrain is up, so she doesn't have to worry about anything switching in, falling asleep. And now that this Dragapult is in a really good position to go for some fast, very powerful moves. So we'll see what Chase kind of locks into here, as Amy is threatening some big damage. She could go for a Freeze Dry into that Amoonguss. At -3, I'm not sure how much it's going to do. We do see the Amoonguss use its formerly signature move, Rage Powder, as Dragapult goes ahead and opts for the Fly play. And it rightfully does so, because it just avoided that Foul play, which would have done a lot of damage into... Oh, and it looks like the Amoonguss gets hit, but I think the Persian actually avoided that Blizzard. One of the challenges of the move Blizzard. So now Chase is pretty free here to go ahead and click the Spore into Foul play, as there isn't any way for Amy to avoid taking this Foul play. And she's not going to be able to, or sorry, not Spore, but the Rage Powder. She's not going to be able to take out the Alolan Persian before. Let's see how much a +2 Fly does. Still not enough. That Koba Berry coming in very clutch for Chase, as it reduces that damage, and Amoonguss is going to be pretty free to just switch out and regain all the damage it took. So Dragapult, great switch-in play, but unfortunately not going to be doing a ton. And then this Hydro Pump, it is rain boosted, but because that Lapras is cut special attack, it's really not going to do a whole lot of a not very effective move. It's one of the reasons why Amoonguss is so oppressive under, specifically under rain. It just, the most effective moves, especially when given a Koba Berry, are going to be Fire type, and with Fire types having their damage cut there in the rain, it operates really well as either on a rain team or countering a rain team. So we see here now this Mimikyu, it's no longer taunted. It looks like Amy actually switches out the the Mimikyu, perhaps trying to bait a taunt into her Conkeldurr, and switches in that Conkeldurr for just in time for a very unfortunate Intimidate. So now we have Persian going for the taunt into the Conkeldurr, and presumably here Amy is going to try and target down this Alolan Persian, going for the Thunder. Oh, no, it actually looks like the Thunder into the Incineroar, and just not doing a whole lot of damage right now. The electricity has now disappeared, so Amy is no longer free from those from sleep. So Chase doing a really good job positioning around the electric terrain. It was a great idea of Amy to go ahead and set that, and that came in so clutch for her in game 2. But here we're going to be playing without electric terrain for the remainder of the game. So we'll see exactly what these players go for, whether Amy tries to go ahead and position to get her Mimikyu in to operate under Trick Room. Presumably she wants to switch that Lapras out at some point. It's just so low in terms of its special attack. She has the option to switch it out and reset all of those, basically all of those drops. But it looks like she actually opts to go ahead and switch out the Conkeldurr and go for a Protect on her Lapras. So the Foul play comes into the protected Lapras. Maybe Chase was trying to predict that switch on the Mimikyu, and a very, very well placed Protect on the Lapras, blocking Chase's entire move. So now what Chase can do is he knows that functionally Amy can only switch out one of her Pokemon because the Dragapult's gone down. So she's repositioned this Conkeldurr in. The Foul play goes into the Mimikyu, which is able to live it presumably because of that Intimidate drop. The Alolan Persian is now taken off the field, but I don't think this Mimikyu is going to live this turn, given this Flare Blitz here should be enough to go ahead and pick up the KO. So there won't be Trick Room for the remainder of this game. But that might not be a terrible thing given the fact that Amy's opponent has an Amoonguss. Also, from Chase's perspective, here we see Braviary come back in. And if I'm actually not mistaken, I don't think we've seen Chase Dynamax yet. Given the Pokemon that he has left, it looks like he probably only wants to Dynamax one of them. And that would probably be the Braviary. But yeah, you don't really want to Dynamax your Incineroar at this health point, or the Amoonguss in the back. But he opts to protect turn 1, which I think is a smart play to go ahead and avoid. Oh, Amy reads it, gets the Mach Punch into the Incineroar. Oh, that was an incredible read right there. Lapras goes for the Blizzard, and now Chase is in a position where he can Dynamax, but his Amoonguss is going to have to live now this reset neutral Lapras as opposed to the -3 one from before. We also, presumably based on the amount of damage we've seen so far, that Conkeldurr is likely Assault Vest. I don't believe we've seen Protect come out of it just yet, so I don't know how it lives I just don't know how it's going to live a max Airstream coming out of this Braviary. But I guess we'll see right here what happens as Chase does finally go ahead and decide to pull the trigger on that Dynamax with the Braviary. I think kind of the Pokemon he knew he wanted to Dynamax all along, but wanted to wait for the right positioning. So this Braviary is just at about, it's only taken that 40% from the turn 1 Max Lightning. We see the Rage Powder from the Amoonguss. This is going to redirect any of Amy's attacks. And this Max Airstream, let's see how much it does into the Conkeldurr. It's enough to take it out. So I think that's gonna put Amy in a really tough position. If she's able to pick up, she's able to get a Blizzard here, KO the Amoonguss, and maybe get a freeze onto the Braviary, that's a win con, but it looks like Braviary is actually gonna go ahead and avoid. Amoonguss is down, so with the crit coming out, I don't know if that crit mattered. We can ask Chase after the fact. Unsure as to how he exactly has his Amoonguss trained, but the way he has described it to me, this Amoonguss lives everything, I believe is the direct quote. So I'm thinking that crit might have mattered, but I guess we'll see here. So Chase is going to opt to go ahead and boost his attack with the Max Knuckle, and actually, no, that's just going to be enough to pick up the KO with the super effective attack into the Lapras, and only about 40%. So really, really close game, really good best of 3 there, bringing it down to the wire.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked these videos, make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more of our content.
And if you want to join us for our ATX VGC Friendlies, check us out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ATX_VGC. We go live every Monday for these Friendlies around 7 p.m. Central.